And we're recording. Hey everyone, it's Demi from Rockstar Priestess, and I'm here today with Suzanne, who is a ninja witch from Arizona, and she is a Morgan lady like me, and she's helping me teach Morgan Le Fay Mystery School, and she's going to tell us some cool stuff today about Morgan Le Fay and herbcraft, because Suzanne, I nearly called you Morgan, and then I caught myself just in time to call you the other wrong name.
I'll answer to that.
Suzanne is a certified herbalist, and she is coming to teach everyone in Morgan Le Fay Mystery School how to be a witch that works with herbs for like actual reasons rather than just dicking around with herbs because we think it's cool. So yeah, hi Suzanne.
Good morning.
So could you tell us a little bit about you and how you ended up being a herbalist and what it is you do these days?
Absolutely. I went down the herbalist path 9 years ago, just about. Before that, I was working in a bunch of different tea shops in New York City, kind of supplementing my aspiring opera singer income. And I started using herbal teas for my voice, and then I kind of just went from there. And I started just playing around. It's funny when you're like dicking about with herbs. I'm like, I totally did that at first because I was like, I don't know. I just got really into it at this particular tea shop. I started making custom blends for people. I started intuiting blends. Somebody would walk in and be like, "Can I make you what I think you need?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it," because New Yorkers are crazy. And yeah, so that's kind of how that started. My people started nicknaming me the Tea Witch, and I decided there was something to that because I enjoyed it a lot more than opera. So of opera. So yeah, so I came to Arizona to study at the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, where I had an amazing professor by the name of Joanne Sanchez, and yeah, I got certified there several years back, and that's when I officially launched my tea and herb and perfume company, which is Alchemy of Avalon. And I always knew that that was going to be the name of it, even before I graduated school. So it was always Avalon inspired. When I went down to Arizona to do the thing, it was always just, I kind of had this realization that if I was a real priestess, if I was like an Avalonian priestess but stuck here in these modern times, I would have that skill, and I would do that, but I would also be able to still do music and still do dance and still read tarot and things of that nature, because they would have learned all of those. It would have been about the Avalonian arts. So
cool. So tell me about your path with Morgan Le Fay and more about what you were saying about these arts of Avalon, where what we're doing is we're creating ways to live the ways of Morgan Le Fay in the present day.
Yeah. What can I say about Morgan? Oh, I love her so much. So I did come into this spiritual path via the Mists of Avalon, like many women. And I started, after I finished the book, I wasn't ready to let that go. I didn't want to let that feeling go. And I stumbled upon, this was in sort of the earlier days of the internet in the early 2000s. So I stumbled upon some sites that said, kind of like Wicca or witchcraft or paganism would be the closest thing to what she did in the book. So I did start in that sense, but she always was the one with me. I had a super powerful dream when I was kind of starting off on that path about I was right. I think I was going up the tour, but I didn't really know at the time because I hadn't seen it yet. But we were going up a hill in a spiral pattern, and she was riding a black horse, and I was riding a white horse, and it was just this crazy sort of me following her and her protecting me at the same time thing. So that kind of made me realize, like, okay, I think she wants to talk to me. So I'm your girl. So and then So in terms of the Avalonian arts, you know, I don't know. It was sort of like before Harry Potter, we had Avalon, and we had that to dream about, right? And I just feel that, like, I guess what's one of the things that's important to me is that, like, when a woman follows the path of Avalon and the path of an Avalonian priestess, we don't have to try to fit ourselves into one category or one box. We can encompass all these things, and I like that so much. It ties in really well with your Nine Faces of Morgan Le Fay, for example, how she is all of these things at the same time, and yet may sort of radiate out one or two of those at one moment, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's
Yeah. I love that about one of the things I really like about the Wheel of Morgan and about all these stories of her sisterhoods is that, because I hear what you're saying about the arts of Avalon, and in the past they would have had all these skills and stuff, and like I always think whenever I think of old Avalon mystery schools and what it must have been like, I think it must have been magical waking up every day and praising the goddess, and then I think it must have been really cold and the food must have been really boring and it must have been really hard to find like lovers and boyfriends, and
yes,
there must have been so little choice.
right,
And
right.
now we get to recreate that, only with the richness of, well, not only the richness, but the freedom of what we have nowadays, and this ability to connect with everyone. And we were saying about Arts of Avalon, like Morgan Le Fay is all of these things, so she can do everything.
Right.
But she's like a goddess, so of course she can do everything.
True.
Like we're you and me, so in our little Morgan Le Fay mystery school team, you're the one that knows all about the herbs and stuff, so you can bring that to the team. And I know all about other stuff, and it's more of a process of finding which facets are you.
Right.
Does that make sense? I've kind of gone on a tangent here, but I feel like there's already enough pressure for us to be perfect and be able to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to do everything, but we can be greedy and do a lot of things, which is what we do. All right, so tell me about, so we've got your journey with Morgan Le Fay and your Avalon inspired beginning to learn about herb craft. What is it you actually do with herbs? What does a herbalist do, and how do you actually use herbs in your everyday life?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Okay. There's the magical and the medical side. So when you're a certified herbalist, you can use herbal medicine to treat a lot of common ailments, and maybe some. I mean, that's a whole other maybe conversation. But of course, so I I guess disclaimer: I don't advocate replacing all allopathic medicine with herbs, but it is so empowering when you realize how many things you really can do with herbs first. So it's always it's amazing because you can try and use that as sort of your first go-to treatment for so many things. Um, so, and I'll get into that, of course, a lot more as we go through the course. But on a magical level, I use herbs a lot in ritual. Of course, incense. We've talked about this, like smells are so amazing, and essential oils. I also did train in aromatherapy as well. So I am very comfortable using essential oils, creating incense. The process itself can be the ritual. The process itself can be the magic. You're imbuing that with whatever intention you want, or to align yourself with a certain deity, or to align yourself with the full moon or a Sabbath. So that in and of itself can be the magic and the ritual. But then, of course, you can use it in your circle. and burn that incense or anoint yourself with that oil or drink that tea. So you get two for the price of one. You get to create the thing and then use the thing. Tea would probably be the biggest modality for me with herbs. I love blending teas so much. There's just endless possibilities of what you can put together. And that's it's amazing to use herbs that way because again, like you get a health benefit from it, but then also it's magical. And all the herbs have energies, and depending how deep you want to go, a lot of herbalists have, so some, how some people are drawn to certain crystals, right? And they may have almost a relationship with that stone and they keep it on them at all times or what have you. You can do that with herbs as well. So you can even, if you're especially there in front of like the live plant growing in the wild, you can get into your space and hear what she has to say to you and talk to her and see what she wants you to use her for, or just anything at all energetically, what you feel like that herb is aligning with. So that's part of what I did to create the herbal correspondences for the Morgan Wheel of the Year, for example. So I kind of meditated on which herbs wanted to be placed where, and kind of tried to listen as well as think. So
Cool. That's
yeah.
fascinating. I've read I can't remember what I've been reading recently. It's been so many things about how I have slow brain today. I've been reading about how in the olden days and the old indigenous cultures and what we would have used to do here in Britain like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the shaman would know about which herbs would be good for what, because they would go into that state to talk to the herb and find out what it is and connect with this aliveness of the world. And what I find really fascinating about herbs, and one of the reasons I was really excited to get you on the Morgan course, was because it awakens us to this, not just the magic that is just everywhere, and not just like the super witchy, I cast a circle and I call on the quarter of the west kind of magic, but like just the basic magic of you eat this plant, it will calm down your hives. That kind of just practical magic that just exists in everything, and the connections between us and the world, and how the world is just such a beautiful place that just responds to us. And that being a part of, like, I've been reading her books this year, and that's really open to me to just the connection with the world around us. And I feel a big part of working with Avalon is being connected to the world around us and deepening into that mythic vision of seeing what the world really is.
Yes, everything you just said really sums up like my personal flavor of witchcraft these days really well. I think I have something like that. I love what you said, aliveness, the aliveness that's around you, and the practical magic. It's not just one of my favorite movies. It really is, like how how I feel when I'm doing it is, I love the ceremonial side of things too. I love ritual, but yes, like just that earthy, grounded, hands in the dirt, smelling the flowers thing, like it wakes you up. And when you have that, like that sensual field radiating from you, that is the magic. That is it. I think I wrote that in my notes. Using herbs as a Morgan priestess, it really is a wonderful way to connect with what's around you, with the spirits of place and with the fae. I use it a lot to, make offerings to the fae. So yeah, I just love that. It kind of helps you feel like you're, riding the fine line between that other dimension and and the mundane. So
Yeah. What I always, whenever we think about Morgan Le Fay and Avalon, Morgan Le Fay is very rooted in specific landscapes, specific real places, like especially in the UK. I mean, she crops up in Italy and Brittany and Spain. There's a lot of stories about her in Spain I have been hearing. But it's that just connection to the earth, which is just so important with Morgan Le Fay. How can you walk the boundaries of both worlds if you're not really interacting with this world?
yes.
How can you expect to be able to ground the other world in this world if you're not really here? And I feel like this because I do this all the time. We are not as connected with with the world around us as I imagine we used to. I mean, in the past we would have been really connected, and it would have sucked because it would have been cold, food would have been crap, all those things. But we're not. I have an app on my phone which tells me how much screen time I'm on my phone every day. It's shocking. And that's just time spent like, oh, check, oh, it's fine. Instead of being outside and really out of our head and into our bodies. And I feel like that's a very important thing because we live in a world that is trying to get us and keep us in our head all the time. And we gotta beat that.
Yes.
Cool. So you said you were working with the intuitive wheel of Morgan Le Fay and putting herbs in those places. So as we go and do our super awesome sexy Morgan Le Fay course, which everyone should join us on, the wheel of Morgan Le Fay, I always call it a tutelary wheel because it's not a for me it's more of a teaching tool and a way of understanding and being able to organize and experience things rather than Morgan Le Fay is only the enchantress at Ostara. That is when it's not that it's not that set in stone. But the wheel of Morgan Le Fay is a way of looking at all of her major aspects throughout the year and fitting them with the seasons of the year where you naturally feel their energy the most. Like we have for me, we have the High Priestess at midwinter solstice because that's a time of intense stillness and insideness, and we have Fairy Queen and Lover at Beltane because that's the time of like hedonism and sex and smelling everything and touching things. So for me, that's how it works. And throughout the year, in mystery school, we'll be working with each of those aspects and stuff. Tell us a little bit about the herbs you've placed in some other parts of the Wheel of the Year and why you felt they were there and what we're going to do with them. Please tell me.
Yes, absolutely. It's a big secret. Okay. So we are going to begin at Samhain, right? So the main herb that we'll be focusing on is Mugwort, Artemisia vulgaris, super lunar and witchy herb. It is purported to enhance your dreams. And I think the time between Samhain and winter solstice is very, very much a time of turning inward, reflection, reviewing the year. It's that time in between time when it's not the old year, but it's not in the new year yet. We haven't had that rebirth, that Yule. So I just love that time for like journaling and, dream work and kind of slowing down. Mugwort also, I don't know why I'm talking about this. It's not in my notes, but I feel like it wants to be said. I've used it actually also to, it's an emmenagogue, and I am someone who doesn't have the most regular menstrual cycle throughout my adult life. So I've actually used it for that as well. So it's lunar in that sense too. It's really cool. So
cool.
Magical and medicinal tying together, and so perfect that way. So, I think that time of year is a really good time to try to de-stress. I know it's like, okay, like you go from Halloween, like running right into the holidays, and that's usually the time when it's the craziest for everybody. So I don't know. I think mugwort is like an awesome ladies self-care plant.
The lady plant.
A lady plant. Yeah,
That's
actually, that
lovely.
was kind of like I would say the good majority of the plants that I've chosen are like of the lady plant variety for the most part. Have a more female set of indications, like what you would use it for. So
Hmm.
not all, but yeah, a lot of them. So,
Cool.
yeah. So that's the first one.
Hmm.
I can kind of try to like go through it quickly with the others if you like. But
That would be lovely. Just tell us a few. That would be so cool to know.
yeah. I have also, so on my wheel, I have like primary, like which one was like the first one that I knew I wanted for each point on the wheel, but then I have others too. So we'll be like discussing secondary and third herbs as we go along as well. So for winter solstice, I have rosemary. It
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that's like it grows in abundance where I live too, which is cool,
Hmm.
even though I live in such a warm place. But yeah, rosemary, it's not quite needly, but yeah, it has almost that piney texture. It is a little bit resinous. The essential oils are really, really potent on that plant. So like if you just rub the leaves, like it comes off on you. Um, it's it's really fragrant. Obviously, it's a culinary herb as well, used in a lot of more fall and wintry kind of food dishes as well.
Hmm.
Um, so, but so the lore behind rosemary is also part of the reason why I chose it for winter solstice, and that is because it's known as the herb of remembrance. So, in a sense, you could almost put it at Samhain as well because it kind of associated with death. But so there's two ways that you could use that. One, to give to a lover if you were going to be apart from that person. For them to remember you. And then also I think there was some lore that it was put, what's the word? Like people were buried with it, or, it was like you would lay rosemary on the person's body or tomb to help them cross over to the other side and like remember their past lives when they were reincarnated. So kind of all tied together that way. But Yule being that point of rebirth. I guess so. I'm getting a little like into the hippie side here, but it's really cool. So like Newgrange, right? So it's a
Hmm.
burial tomb and a fairy mound, and they built it so that the light would come pouring in and light up the whole tomb at winter solstice.
Hmm.
And that was the moment that it was said that the soul was then carried on so that it could be reborn again. So, yes. So that's why I really love rosemary at that point in the year.
Hmm. That's
And,
cool because in the retreat in Morgan Le Fay Ministry School, I want to take you all to what's it called? West Kennet Long Barrow, which is like the biggest barrow burial complex in the UK, and that's the same deal. Like there are stones in specific alignment with the midwinter solstice, which is the rebirth one. So we could take our rosemary incense there.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, because mistletoe obviously is associated with that time, but it's not really used. Like you can't ingest that. Like you don't want to
Yeah,
really
you don't want to eat that.
bad for pets. Like I don't really want that around your home if we're working with it. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about it too, though.
Mm.
Yeah, and then turning the wheel out to over to Imbolc.
Mm-hmm.
So lavender, yeah, it just I feel like that's a really oh gosh, I've always associated that point on the wheel with the goddess Breed. So she's kind of sort of tied into Avalon a little bit.
Mm.
But lavender, I don't know, it's really light. It has that, it can be, lavender really can be any time in the year, but it's very healing. It's used in so many things. It's one of the few herbs and essential oils that is safe. Yay! I mean, that's like, if I was going to buy one thing, that's what I would buy. You know, if I had to buy one essential oil, and I use lavender in a lot of my tea blends. I mean, it obviously smells phenomenal. It grows everywhere where you live, and yeah, and it's a very it's a very distinct smell. There's nothing else like it. It has that sort of like things waking up and getting ready to, you know, come, come to fruition, be reborn kind of scent. It has that slight astringency, but also it's gentle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I love it. It had to go somewhere, and that's exactly where I want. I'm gonna do lavender. Like, that was happening. So
it works perfectly. So in Morgan Win of the Year at Imolc, it's the sister archetype. So it's sister, and it's that liminalness of coming out of the high priestess, where there isn't too much separation from everybody, but it's this collective, and sisterhoods are comforting. And for me, lavender is the smell of comfort, and that's what I go to whenever I need, like, I wouldn't say centering, but just comfort. And it's like the friendliest herb ever.
Yeah, I strongly agree. Yeah, I actually I feel that lavender helps me, like, emotionally. Absolutely.
Yes,
I just
so
feel it.
much.
Not that it's like you have this big upheaval, but it I feel the process, and sort of like it's like there for you.
Yeah, it's so good.
I don't know.
That's so true. All right, so
for everybody. So yeah. So Ostara, and just let me know if, like, you need me to skip ahead or speed
just
up.
tell us very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Ostara, I have Vervain. Aspect. It's also a super witchy herb, but much lighter than mugwort. At Beltane, I have I am still deciding which one I like better for the primary, but I have Maidenhair Fern and also Rose. Maidenhair Fern is I've used it in a lot of love spells. It's definitely, that early to mid-spring plant. That's, I mean, it grows everywhere also, but rose petals, can't go wrong with that. And rose does actually have a bunch of medicinal has a bunch of medicinal properties as well. So it's not just pretty, it doesn't just smell good, it does a lot of great things. Midsummer, hawthorn. Definitely associate that with the fairies big time. Hawthorn you can use the leaves and the berries medicinally. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be making teas. We're going to be making tinctures. We're going to make incense. We're going to do all the things. So we're going to do salves for sure. I love making salves. So witchy, because you get to stir your cauldron. But yeah, so I've got hawthorn for midsummer for the fairy. Then going over to either Lunasa, I don't know if I'm saying that right, or Lamas. So for the mother, right? So we're going to put one of my current favorite herbs there, which is motherwort. Yes. My teacher taught me that this little phrase, motherwort mothers the mother. So I think that, like, all of us in a way are mothers, whether we actually had children or not. We've all in our womanhood, like, birthed something and are taking care of something and nurturing something. So yeah, that's another one that's just really great for self-care. And I've also got chamomile and calendula hanging out on that part of the wheel too. So we're going to use those as well. And chamomile is actually a really wonderful one for children. So if there are any mamas in the group, we'll kind of talk about the relationship between those two plants together. So I feel like they have sort of a Demeter and Persephone thing going on, like a mother. So yeah, and then we're almost done. So then we have Maven, the most Avalonian of all holidays, and we'll be there, right? That's when the
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we'll be there in Avalon for that time. So aside from like eating apples and using apples for everything, I have elderberry for
Mm-hmm.
on the wheel. So um, I use elderberry all the time in my house, and it's delicious. And it also is super packed with a lot of really good medicinal properties. So um, I think that's it.
That's so cool. I'm so excited.
We're gonna have our own little materia medica. So that means it's sort of like your arsenal, your your witchy go-to. So and there will be others that again I will kind of incorporate into the lesson plans, but those are the primary ones for the first year. So
Fabulous. I'm so excited. So, okay, I would love to ask before we go if people wanted to use herbs to celebrate Samhain, what would you suggest they got up to?
oh my gosh, okay. Definitely make yourself a batch of mugwort tea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can do um, you can do 7 days of dream work, or but if you don't have time for 7, I think 3 is fine. Um, and I can probably I mean this will be definitely included in the lesson plan, but I can do a quick like post on like how much of the herb you need to make the tea for how much water and all of that, if
Mm-hmm.
that
That
helps,
would
if
be
you're
cool.
not sure how to make it. But yeah, you can do a mugwort tea. You can blend in a little bit of lavender with that as well. I have a divination blend on my website that's mugwort with lavender, lemon balm, and jasmine, all really
Mm.
lunar and you know, goddess and dream associated plants. You're gonna make enough tea for yourself. I would say drink it maybe an hour before bedtime, and I would suggest incorporating a little bit of meditation beforehand. So if you want to use it specifically for Samhain, um, I would actually use some. I would do some divination too with that, because it's such a great time for divination, right? So, so you can drink the tea like at night in your circle, and I would absolutely like Morgan Le Fay is an awesome goddess to help you with divination.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I've written some incantations around that too, so I really love her for that as well. And so if you call on her, she will help you. You can do you know, kind of a little tea ceremony around that, right? You're drinking some of the tea, you're calling to her to ask for her aid in that divination. Use whatever, you know, is it tarot, is it runes, whatever you like. Scrying is really great, especially for, you know, connecting with Avalon. And then if you, yeah, if you go to sleep after that, just have a dream journal nearby. I mean, yeah, just definitely pay attention to what comes through after you do that ritual. So,
Mm. I love it. So it's a case of witches getting juiced up on mugwort
mm,
and using that herb to kind of open up that gate between the worlds so then you can get that divination information and you can connect with Morgan or whoever it is you want to talk to. You don't have to talk to Morgan Le Fay, but you should. And then riding that kind of mugworty wave and having some very interesting Samhain night dreams, and then making sure you write them down again as soon as you wake up because you won't remember. I usually, unless it's like a really intense dream, like the other day I dreamt that my boyfriend was a centaur and I had to find the right brush. He was a beautiful centaur, but
I was gonna
unless it's like a very specific dream,
say.
you kind of have to write them down right away, otherwise they slip away.
Yeah. And don't try to make sense out of it. Just write.
Mm.
Just right. And I just really do want to say quickly though, like if anyone wants to do that sort of ritual, but if you're in your first trimester of pregnancy, don't drink the mugwort. um, Reach out to me, or I can post something of like an alternative that you can use, because that is a contraindication. So you don't want to do that.
Is it okay after the first trimester, or is it just best to avoid the whole time?
It's okay after the first trimester as a tea, but don't take it as a tincture because that's stronger. So like 1 cup of tea if you're probably, 16 weeks in plus, is okay, definitely. But then, yeah, you don't want to do, like, the tincture form is a lot stronger. So.
All the pregnant ladies out there are like, I'm never drinking that too.
Yeah, it's important. Just arm yourself with knowledge. You don't have to be scared of the plant. But another, like, real quick, mugwort, I can't believe I forgot to say this before. You can make smudge sticks with it. So it's burned in a lot of traditions, and they're actually, I won't talk about, there's moxibustion, but that's like a whole cool, like, process that herbalists do. But you can use it as a smudge stick in your circle. So, like, instead of just sage and sweetgrass, you can do like mugwort and lavender and a little bit of sage if you want. So yeah, a lot of people just like to kind of burn it around as like a protective circle. So do that too if you don't want to drink it. It can get a little bitter, I will say. So if you're making it as a tea, you might want to put in some honey, a little bit, even if you don't normally do that, because wormwood is part of the same family of plants. So those are, a little bit bitter. So
Cool. I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so in case you hadn't figured out by us referencing it every 3 seconds, we're going to be running Morgan Le Fay Mystery School first year priestess training, which is our sister year. And it's going to be a year's journey with Morgan Le Fay, with me, with Suzanne, and with a bunch of other ladies. I haven't quite decided who are going to come in and teach specialty subjects. And it's going to be deepening into embodying that Morgan Le Fay energy and recreating for ourselves what it means to walk as a priestess of Morgan Le Fay and what it means to walk as a priestess of Avalon, as a sister of Avalon, as someone who carries that in the modern world. And I mean in the modern world, it's about learning these herbcraft skills like we're going to be learning with Suzanne, and then figuring out how to actually use them in real life every day, and learning priestess skills and learning magical skills and learning all the other things we're going to learn, and knowing what we like and what we find is interesting and using that. It's very much, I really truly believe that Morgan Le Fay, she's not everyone has to learn from the same script. It's everyone kind of learns the same thing, but some people go off on tangents and they'll learn this thing and they'll talk to us about that, and then that will make some people think of this and we'll go off somewhere else, because she's a goddess of the twilight and of the fairy pathways. So it's all like this all over the place, but it's that beautiful, I don't know, it's just going to be so magical, and I'm so excited. And it's going to be an amazing year of study and coolness and potion making and prayer and meditation and lots of shadow work. Like, I'm writing my lesson plans and it's right in there with intense amounts of shadow work, and it doesn't stop, I don't think. So, because Morgan's the goddess of the light and the dark, and she's going to get us to look into that shadow work anyway, so we might as well be prepared. And yeah, it's going to be fucking awesome, and it's going to have a lot of really cool women, because Morgan women are the coolest women. It's just the way it is. We're just great. It's just how it works. So yes, if you'd like to join us, registration's open until the 21st of October on my website, Rockstar Priestess. And if you miss out, we'll probably do it again in the future, but we might not, so you should definitely join us this year. And yeah, is there anything you'd like to say, Suzanne?
I was just thinking, as you were saying all that yeah, Morgan is going to point you in the right direction for, like, the way that you're going to learn it and what you like to use, because, I think she really wants her witches powerful.
She does.
She's going to show you what's going to make you your strongest.
Yes, you're so right. She shows you what makes you powerful, and then she gets you to do that. What makes you powerful might not be what makes me powerful. Or what makes Suzanne powerful might not be what makes you powerful. But she's going to find out what it is, and we're all going to support you to rock it out, because she needs her witches strong and loud and proud and making shit happen in the world. And that's what Morgan Le Fay Mistress School is about. So thank you so much, Suzanne, for joining me today and talking about herbs. I'm so excited to be on this amazing journey with you and to learn from you, because herbs is not my speciality, and I'm so excited to get all your skills this year. And I'm gonna go look at my mugwort that I have in my like herb cabinet and be like, I have no idea how you'd make this into a smudge stick.
Yeah, it's easier when it's fresh, but yeah. It's doable. Make it work. Make it happen.
I'll have a go. I'll show you my horrific attempt later. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
My pleasure. Bye.